Hello and welcome to Savage Universe here on the Pinnacle channel everywhere, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I'm here with Leigh, and we're going to be talking about a swag award-winning product, the Combat Cheat Sheet. Leigh, thanks so much for joining me.
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
So, let's kind of start off with kind of how did you get into Savage Worlds and role-playing, and kind of who you are, whatever you would like to share.
Yeah, of course. So my name is Leigh. I live in the American Midwest. Been playing tabletop role-playing games only for about 5-6 years now, but honestly, I've been in love with them ever since I was about 6 years old, reading through my dad's advanced D&D second edition rule books, the classics. One of the dungeon modules, I would literally just play it by myself and stomp through all the goblins and run myself the game. But it wasn't until I got out of college that I was able to actually find a group, settle down a little bit. First off, I kind of played 5th edition with a friend from work. He was running as the DM, and the system has a little bit of clunk to it. And when it came time for me to try to run my own campaign, I really wanted to look outside of that. And so Savage Worlds really jumped to the top of the pile, and I looked around. I was like, this is the system you use if you want to run a campaign that's not just swords and sorcery. And so I had a Western-inspired campaign, and I was like, okay, super cool. I'm about to DM this for 5 people who have never played the system before. Most of them have never even rolled a D20 before.
Yeah.
Right? And so I had to learn it inside and out. I was going to be the person at the table who was, understood the game. And my DMing style, I tend to kind of control all the math and keep it all behind the screen.
Yeah.
So I literally sat down with the rule book and just started going through with a pen and paper and just writing out the rule set for myself, bullet point style. So that was kind of my first brush with it, was really just grinding through the advanced edition rules and just learning it backwards and forwards so I'd be able to run it at the table. So yeah, ever since then, we've been playing this campaign for 2 years now. We've been through maybe 25 sessions. We're having an absolute blast, and having those combat sheets has been super helpful. So.
Awesome. So what was it about Savage Worlds that kind of captured your imagination as a GM?
I think it was just the freedom of it, because 5th edition, any Dungeons and Dragons edition, but especially, well, I shouldn't say especially 5th edition, it was pretty constrained back in the day. But even still with 5th edition, it's very prescriptive, right? It tells you, these are your character classes, this is what they're good at, this is what they're bad at. And Savage Worlds was like, hey, you got your own setting, go nuts. Here's some powers to pick from. Just sit down at the table and do the stuff that you want to do, right?
Yeah.
And just throw it all out there, see what works. It's going to be a little bit janky sometimes. There's going to be bursts of damage. People are going to hit, 5 aces in a row, and you're going to kill the dragon in one shot, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So that was the aspect of it that I really liked, was just kind of the freewheeling, do your own thing expressiveness of it.
Yeah, no, it's a feature, not a bug. If I see things come up on the Savage Worlds Reddit about Savage Worlds from new GMs, especially GMs coming from, we'll just say that other role-playing game, not Torg, but that other one that, D&D, they're like, the dice are too swingy. Like, what do I do to pull that back? And look, you get 30 comments of it's a feature, it's not a bug. You just got to embrace the swinginess. My character in our Savage Pathfinder game, the swinginess went the other way. The monster aced, and I critically failed a soak roll, and so now I have a new Savage Pathfinder character. So you took your notes. I love that, because that's how, when I'm running a module, when I'm learning a game, I'm actually doing it now. I get a notebook dedicated for that. And when I prep my sessions, my session prep always goes on one double-sided page of the notebook. I try to get my rule prep there. And you said you like to keep all of the math behind the screen. And it's lucky, because all of the math for Savage Worlds is basically 4. Is it 4 or better? Awesome. But I had somewhere I was going with this. Oh, so you condensed that, and then what made you go, hey, I mean, I understand making handouts for your players at the table. I do that all the time. But you put together a really gorgeous combat cheat sheet. So what was kind of the impetus behind that, and then releasing it on the as a swag product?
So first of all, thank you. So it's going to sound funny, but it really was just about making handouts for my players. That's kind of how it started. And then I'm a bit of a, I don't want to say a perfectionist, but things get away from me sometimes. And so the project just became like, I wanted it to look good, because if I'm going to put something together on the time on it, like I want it to be a good looking piece of work. And it's funny because I really have like no graphic design background or anything. So it's been so wonderful seeing people say, how they like the look of it and they like the feel of it. But yeah, the motivation was really just like, I want to make sure that my brand new players have one place that they can look for the whole 4 hours of this session, right? Everything else I'm keeping behind the screen. But when you're running combat, even in Savage Worlds with how fast and punchy everything is, they got to at least know what they can do, right?
Oh, yeah.
So the first sheet kind of writes itself. It tells you all of the actions you can go through. And then, it could be that I tell them what all the dice rolls mean, but it's good for them to have a little bit of investment. And when they hit that ace, when they hit that target number, to be like, oh, I did the thing, without me needing to parse that for them. So the second page writes itself. And then, well, I have power users, and they shouldn't have to ask me every single time, how does that work? So it just kind of evolves from there.
Yeah. Well, so I'm going to post a link here in the chat. You can go pick this up. It is pay what you want. Are you okay if we show it off here on?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, awesome. And as somebody who lays out their own PDFs on drive-through, your stuff looks way better than mine. And while you may not have any formal training, it looks gorgeous. Like, it looks great. So this is the first page that you were talking about. That is just, hey, here's everything that you need to know about Savage Worlds combat. I like that you have Shane Hesley doesn't care here across the top. Spades, hearts, diamonds, and clubs. That's how I remember it. But I like that you have the suit order up there, your turn, and you take the multi-action. And then you get all of these great, I think the thing that Landauer and I were talking about were the great icons that you put on here. We all loved the test icon, especially when John Doom is running our game. I'm going to start making that the official I'm testing my target symbol to him on. Yes, John Doom said, I said this before, but I still love that test icon. And Tinker Hellraiser said, this looks like very Savage World themes, like it could be an official product. Yeah, there's a reason why this rose to the top for the Swag Awards. Then the second page, I like that you have the conditions here, and that you put in the wild and desperate attack. Those are the things that I think my players most often forget is an option for them.
Absolutely.
And then page 3, and again, please go. People are picking it up right now. Sir Drum and Power Steve both got it. I mentioned to Leigh before the start, I'm going to be running 2 different games at Chupa, and I will have laminated versions of these cheat sheets for the table, because they're that great. And I like that you have the modifiers, and even your title, like your section headings are very Savage Worldsy, like using and abusing and all of that. And I mean, it all came together as a really great product.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And like, yeah, it was very much an evolutionary process. Like I said, I'm indebted to the subreddit actually for Savage Worlds, because I went through a feedback round there where they mentioned, hey, Wild Attack and Desperate Attack actually got flipped around, I think, or was it Entangled and Bound? Anyway, there was an errated section that I didn't know about from the basic rulebook. And they gave me feedback on readability, things like that. So it was kind of a group project almost, to a certain extent. But yeah, no, it was a blast to work on, and more importantly, it's been a blast hearing about everybody getting a little bit of mileage out of it at their own table. It's so much more than I expected when I was just throwing it together.
Well, I really appreciate that you put this up. I know my players are going to be appreciative of this. Do you have any other like cool handouts that you plan on putting together over the next year for your next swag award?
This was kind of a one-off for me.
Okay.
I wouldn't say I haven't thought about it, but there's a risk of overdoing it, right? I think that if you're gonna sit down and you make a 3-page handout, which is like front, back, front, that you think is everything your players need for 4 hours, you're then defeating that purpose by going and making more stuff. Most of what I've been working on over the past year related to Savage Worlds has been for my specific campaign setting. I actually have a dedicated rulebook for it that I built out, which probably doesn't quite live up to these graphic design standards, but it does have like a cool map that I made an incarnate of my world, and it talks about all the different races and stuff in this fictional semi-Western setting. It's Deadlands adjacent, I guess you could call it.
Nice.
So yeah, still having a lot of fun with the mechanics and the world that Savage Worlds enables, for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. So I guess we'll wrap up, if you're okay with it, talking about your campaign setting. So it's kind of a fantasy Western.
Yeah.
You had different races. So can you tell us anything about it? Because I mean, one thing about Savage Worlds GMs is we always love hearing about other people's campaigns.
Well, and I do love to talk about mine. So yeah, you got me there. So it kind of grew out of, I'm a creative writer as a hobby, and I had a novel I was working through at the time. And the world in specific, it's the continent of the Eldermark, which is this North American continent kind of stand-in. You have colonialist races that are kind of moving in, and the natives who already lived there. So there's a background magic system. You have stone shapers who can manipulate tectonic forces and use that to attack their enemies. You have sparks, who are the fire mages of the setting. You also just have your gunslinger. There's a mutation where some of them have wings, and so now you have flying angels with 2 revolvers blasting people from above the battlefield.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, and then there's just all sorts of super dorky stuff like that. But yeah, frankly, the fact that the players have stuck with it as long as they have means I might have something there. So
yeah, hey, a 2-year campaign is awesome.
Yeah, so it's been great, and just every aspect of running the game, right? We use Lego models for most of our battlefield terrain, which is an expensive way to do it, but it's been really rewarding. So yeah, it's been a great time.
All right, so as somebody who has clearly read the rule book backwards and forward, and put all of their notes together, if you had to pick, so final question, if you had to pick, what's your favorite thing about Savage Worlds? Favorite rule, favorite mechanic, subsystem?
They're kind of combined, but it's the wild die and it's the aces.
Yeah.
I like, and it appeals kind of to the number crunching that lives in a corner of my brain. I'm an engineer by training, and nice. So seeing how it doesn't just smooth out the probability with the wild die. It makes things feel possible, right? Every time the player gets to throw that D6, there's always a chance, baby. And so it gives them that extra incentive to try the crazy thing. Like I can actually get people to try a desperate attack, to try for the testing and the other stuff that isn't always as mechanically rewarding, but can feel super flavorful when it lands. And I think that between the wild die and then just the ability to pop off with aces, there's always a reason for a player to try the cool thing that they really want to try. And I just don't think I've ever seen another system or game ever reward that kind of creativity in the same way.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Leigh, thank you so much. Again, I'm going to post this link. If you have not checked out the combat cheat sheet, go check it out on DriveThruRPG. It's a part of the Swag Guild or Savage Worlds Adventuring Guild. It's kind of like adding machine to the end of ATM. There's no reason to add guild to the end of swag. And it is a swag award-winning product. So Leigh, hold on. John, we have a question from the chat if you're willing to field it.
Yeah, of course.
Can you tell us a bit about your guitar and which one is your favorite and which one is your grail guitar if you could get it?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first one on the right is a Mexican Strat. It was in my price range, and I love the sunburst on it. It currently is down a string. I'm a terrible owner, and I haven't replaced it yet, just because restringing a Fender with the fiddly tremolo bridge is always a bit of a pain. The middle one is the first serious guitar I ever got. It's a Gibson SG. I love kind of the darker sounds that you get with the neck. And I think it's probably got my favorite feel of any of them, just with kind of the wider neck as well. Easier to hit bar chords, and I don't trip over myself when I'm trying to noodle a little bit. And then finally, there's a Fender hollow body over there. It's an acoustic electric. It doesn't sound so great just by itself, but you plug it in and it really sings. So, right now I'm actually more on a drumming kick. So I have to say I haven't been dreaming about guitars or pushing for that extra one. But there was a BB King hybrid that I had my eyes on for a while. One of the, just the single cutaway, a demi hollow body, and just there are some beautiful patterns for that one. I'm forgetting who made it right now, but yeah, something like that would really be what I was after. So
awesome. Well, Rigger Raven asked if we could show the pages off one more time. I'm going to do that, and we will wrap it up here. So this is the combat page, the number crunching page, and the powers that be page. So I agree, John Doom. Thank you so much, Leigh, for showing up and talking about this product. I know that it is a super useful thing for all Savage Worlds GMs and players, and so it's awesome to be able to have people on and talk about it.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This is super cool. I've never gotten to do a stream appearance, so I really appreciate getting to come talk about it with you.
It is my pleasure. This is one of the cool aspects of this job, is that I get to hang out with cool people and talk about a game that I love. Knights of the Smith Dinner Table. Yes, go grab it right now. Well, that's it. That's all we have for Savage Universe this week. We'll be back possibly next week. I think I have an open slot next week. So if you are a Savage Worlds GM, content creator, swag, or ace license holder, I may try and get Savage Goose on next week. I may push Josh to see if he's free. But then we have a busy rest of May. We're going to have James on the 22nd, and then Star Anvil Studios hopefully on the 29th to announce something cool. So Leigh, once again, thank you so much. And everybody, thank you for coming and joining us. Until next time, go out and play some Savage Worlds and use the combat cheat sheet. Rigger Raven just said that they're going to take it to Games Day this weekend for the newbies. Yes, for the newbies. All right, everybody, until next time, may all your dice ace. Have a good one.